In a world full of cruelty and depravity, where the lawless make the law, and the good are preyed upon by the bad, two unlikely heroes will emerge. Wait, what the hell? They're just gonna bitch about it?
That's kind of their thing.
Okay, whatever. Two crazy Florida men named Bill.
And that is Bill.
And Todd.
That's Todd.
Drinking beer and talking about true crime. Yeah, just talking about it, not doing anything about it. Welcome to Crimes, Killers, Cults,
and Beer,
a true crime comedy podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
and Beer.
And Beer. And this is kind of a special episode because we have a special guest, Matthew Brockmeyer from the Murder Coaster podcast, which, say hi.
Guten Tag. Would you like to play a game of rock, paper, scissors?
Oh my God. You have no idea how funny that is, and you won't know until part 2 of this episode. Oh my God.
This is going to be some fun times now.
Did you hack my notes?
Well, I was going to make a joke about my safety scissors, but there was no point.
Oh my God. Anyway, in case you're wondering where Todd is taking some time off. Everybody needs some time off. And if you're wondering why I sound like this, I have a fucking cold.
He's a trooper.
Yeah. And I know that if I had done, if I had said, okay, I'm not doing an episode because I have a cold, I'd get blasted by you guys on social media. You did an episode with COVID. You can do one with a cold. Well, here I am. So.
You got some harsh listeners, man.
We love our listeners. Even the ones that rag on us. And we encourage them to rag on us because we like it. Well, I do anyway. I don't know about you. But, so I have been trying like Dayquil and everything. I've taken more Dayquil than I should have and everything. That didn't work. I am on my second beer and it seems to be working. So Dayquil doesn't have alcohol in it. So I think that's the only thing that was missing was alcohol.
There you go.
So maybe there won't be a lot of coughing in this one. And even if there is, they won't hear it anyway because I will edit every single cough out of there. I promise. Or sneeze. I promise.
Hear that, folks? See how hard he works for you.
Oh, yeah, right? Anyway, tell them a little bit about your podcast there, Matthew.
Oh, my podcast is called Murder Coaster. I have a lovely co-host named Krista Carmen, and we're both horror writers, and we enjoy delving deep into bizarre true crime. It's a lot of fun. Check us out if you get a chance.
Yeah, it's Murder Coaster, wherever you get podcasts. I've listened to quite a few of your episodes, and I dig the podcast. I love the dynamic between you and Krista. Chris, you got that like gravelly voice and whatnot, and then she's just got this motherly, nurturing, sweet voice and everything, and it's a great dynamic. I love it.
Nice, thanks. We have a lot of fun. We have fun like doing the dialogue, like writing out little snippets of dialogue for.
I love it when you break into song.
You're probably the only one, but I insist on it anyway.
I do it too.
Right. You're an actual musician.
Well, I mean, sometimes I break into song and Todd doesn't like it.
I forced Krista to sing with me. Like, Cole, we got to sing these Charlie Manson songs. She's like, okay.
That was hilarious. But yeah, it's great. And your current episode that we've already covered, Sid and Nancy.
Yes, Sid and Nancy.
Yeah.
No singing in that one, oddly enough. But we did another punk one just the other day called on Fang. Do you know that story?
Yeah, I listened to that, and I was aware of them, but I didn't know the story. Well, I was a little bit aware of the story. I listened to that one. That was an excellent episode.
Oh, thanks so much.
I loved it. I loved it.
We got some singing in.
and I even went and listened to the Fang album on Spotify after
Cool.
I listened to your episode. So
the money will roll right in.
Yeah, and it's exactly what you would expect from a 70s era punk band.
Yeah. I like Fang. I liked them back in the day. I mean, it's a shame about all the murder and stuff, but
yeah, and she was a beautiful person too.
Yeah,
she
really was. It's hard to find information about her. I had to dig pretty deep to get any.
Yeah, I was impressed. with what you did on that one. I mean, I haven't listened to your Sid and Nancy one yet, but I'm going to. On ours, I didn't. Oh, I did sing. I didn't sing. Flaccid Jizzless sang. Do you know who he is? Have you heard him yet? He's one of our characters.
Oh, you said you had a character singing, right? Okay.
He's the death metal. He's the Norwegian black metal tambourine man.
Nice.
And you see that tambourine up there in my picture?
Yes.
That's the flash.
Okay.
No, that's his autograph.
I see.
That's his black metal autograph. And he does a little black metal tambourine version of Anarchy in the UK.
Anarchy in the UK.
You're not far off.
I like black metal,
but with the awesome tambourine behind it. Nobody can play a tambourine like that guy.
You need a black metal cowbell guy.
Oh, you fucking just gave me an idea.
Uh-oh.
So that moonshine you're drinking?
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm drinking Bud Light. Everybody knows that. But anyway, let's jump into this. Now we got the pleasantries out of the way. This is the first time I've ever collabed with Matt here. I've wanted to ever since I heard the podcast. It's a great podcast. I love it. The check's in the mail, right?
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I knew I was going to pay for this somehow.
I'm kidding. So we're covering. Yeah, I picked a doozy for Todd not to be here, but he doesn't like. He wouldn't have liked this story. He has a hard time with when kids are involved, and there are kids in this one, and that's as much of a trigger warning as you're going to get from us. It's a true crime podcast. You know it's coming.
Right.
So
I figure if I name mine Murder Coaster, I don't need a warning. You know what you're getting yourself into.
Oh, same thing with Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer. It's like,
yeah.
okay, right. That just the and beer screams true crime comedy.
Right.
So anyway, Peter Kurten, known as the Vampire of Dusseldorf, was a German serial killer, and he was born May 26th of 1883, and he was the oldest of 13 children. And
that's a lot of kids.
That is a lot of kids. It's a lot of. That's common with those back then, and everything. They had lots of kids.
Well, a lot of them are usually going to die, but
well, yeah.
Didn't they live in one room? I believe too. That's just crazy.
Yeah, they did.
It's a lot of people in one room.
Yeah. So, he was executed by guillotine on July 2nd of 1931. His crime spree lasted from May of 1913 to November of 1929. He was convicted of 9 murders, but there were more. He was also convicted of 7 attempted murders, as well as arson and burglary. He was a sexual sadist, and he had a huge appetite, and he was brutal.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Okay, sources. Ryan Green's book. He's our favorite author on CKCB.
He's good. I like Ryan.
Yeah, he is. You see the books on my bookcase there at the top shelf, all the black books next to there. Mm-hmm. Those are all Ryan Green.
Nice.
But yeah, all those books are Ryan Green, and I've got probably at least 7 or 8 of them that I haven't even cracked the spine in yet. So, but his book, The Monster Within, a true story of bloodthirst, brutality, and barbaric evil. And I used some wiki and some Murderpedia as well. And main reason for that is I was trying to find names which there aren't a lot of names. There aren't a lot of names of his family or anything like that.
Oh, you're looking for his family, right?
Yeah, all I found was his father's name, and that was in Ryan's book. So
yeah, well, his father was brought to court for raping his daughter. I guess you're going to get to that. Spoiler.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
So
I just meant that there's obviously probably some court records, but I think a lot of things in Germany got lost during World War II.
Well, yeah, obviously, and including Peter's head.
Literally, was it in a museum or something?
It's in a museum. It was in a lab. Now it's in a museum in Wisconsin.
Oh, I think they had Fritz Haarmann's head for a while too. I think they just got rid of it in like 2013. I might be wrong on that exact date, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I knew Peter Kurten's head was on display. I didn't know where it was until I finished the notes for part 2 of this.
Oh, bucket list. Let's go to Wisconsin sometime. Check that thing out.
Yeah, and you know what would be great is if they had collected Ed Gein's head, put his head right next to Ed Gein.
The Wisconsin boy done good.
Yeah. Well,
but they should have done a trade. They should have brought Ed Gein's head over there to Germany and put it on display.
Yeah.
Trade.
Well, Peter Kurten's head was spoil of war. So, an American soldier brought it back.
Nice. His wife must have been so happy. Look, honey.
And take a guess at which museum it's at.
Shoot, I don't know. Is there a serial killer museum over there?
No, it's a chain of museums.
Ripley's, Believe It or Not.
Yep.
Nice. I was just in a Ripley's, Believe It or Not, the other day in San Francisco. Love that place.
I haven't been to one in a while. The one in St. Augustine is really cool.
Nice.
The one in Orlando is okay. But anyway, he was born in Mulheim am Ryan. And I think I got that right. I'm not sure. But it was across the river from Cologne. And I hope I got that right.
Because you're wearing something.
Well, no, that's Vicks Vapor Rub.
Fancy stuff. The girls go wild.
Damn, my microphone and internet signal must be really good. You got smell-o-vision going over there. You can smell my freaking Vicks.
Well, you sent me that scratch and sniff card.
Oh, that's right. Peter's mother was assisted by her mother and sister for the birth of Peter. Peter's father, Herr, Herr, was not there. It wasn't uncommon, but that wasn't uncommon in the 1800s. As far as the family knew, he was going off to celebrate the birth with his friends, but he was just going to the bar, and it was a normal day for him. He just used the birth as excuses to go drink, and he was a molder, and most of his money went to the bar and prostitutes because his wife shot him down a lot, and when he didn't feel like just taking it.
Right. I think that he did enjoy taking it right in front of the children in that little room.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're gonna get there real soon. He had a relentless sexual appetite, and because of the money situation, they had to move into a 1-bedroom apartment in town, and they were late on rent regularly. But maybe she refused him when she did because she was pregnant all the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, they had
13 kids.
13 kids.
Insane, man.
So that's 15 people crammed into a 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm assuming that it's probably, I'm picturing it's probably the entire floor space is probably 10 or 15 by 20 or 15 by 25, something like that. You know, and it's probably a flat. It's probably not any dividing walls or anything like that. It's probably just a flat.
Right.
You know? Or an efficiency, as we call it in the United States. So they never got a bigger place, and the only bed in the apartment was for Hare and his wife, and the kids slept on the floor. Food was scarce, tempers flare, and it became a war zone as more and more kids were brought into this hellish scenario. And it wouldn't take very long before Hare started becoming abusive, and Peter was the first one to suffer his wrath because he was the oldest, especially when Hare came back home drunk, which was pretty much every night. And you kind of have to admire young Peter a little bit, because he did try and defend his younger sisters and brothers by trying to take all of the abuse onto himself, to a degree. I mean, there was only so much he could do. But this obviously scarred him and was the caveat for what happened later in life. But abusive parents never stop to think that their actions could be creating a monster. But
yeah,
but despite Peter's effort, either a monster or a perpetual victim.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just how it is with these people. They just don't give a shit. They don't care.
I don't think he's thinking about what the outcome is going to be with his wrath of sexual violence.
No, or physical violence or anything.
All of it, all the above. Yeah.
I mean, I can just imagine. It's just like my living room here. Like half of it is my record, or is my studio. The other half is the actual living room. I have a rather long living room, so I'm able to divide it in half, and it's probably like, I don't know, probably like I was saying, about 10 by. No, it's probably about like 15 by 25, like I was saying. So I'm envisioning my living room and my studio area as their entire apartment. And I just live here with my daughter, just the two of us. And it's obviously much bigger than just this area. And sometimes this house that I live in seems not big enough for just me and a 13-year-old girl. So, yeah, just two of us in much bigger place than what they had. And they had 15 people crammed in there. That just blows my freaking mind. Yeah, I mean, usually in like a lot of these cases, like say Carl Panzram or whatever, where they had like 10 kids and everything, they're on a farm. They've got a big house. I mean, right. you might have like 2 or 3 kids in one room, and they've all got little cots to sleep on. But at least at least they're not sleeping on the floor.
Yeah.
I bring up Panzram because I bring him up several times in this episode for comparison's sake, because there's a lot of similarities between Peter Kurten and Carl Panzram. Believe it or not.
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, I mean, we did that big, exhaustive 3-part episode on Panzram recently, so I mean, it's kind of fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
But like 6 hours on Panzram. Damn. That's a lot of Panzram.
That's a lot of Panzram. Yeah.
So, just I'm not free from the mush mouth even when I have a cold. I didn't think that I would be. I'm just making an observation. So, despite Peter's efforts, his mother and siblings weren't, completely spared of the abuse. His mother was always bruised and bloodied, and Hare didn't even tone it down when she was pregnant, which was most of the time. It's condoms, or at least get your pull-out game down.
Yeah.
Or get a vasectomy. I'll do it. I got a pair of rusty pliers. I'll do it.
Scissors.
It's ironic you said that. I can't wait till part 2.
He did it for the sheer fun of it.
That's fucking brilliant. Oh man. Hare raped his wife constantly, which wasn't considered a crime back then. She's just property. I almost said that in the southern accent, but that wouldn't have worked because this is in Germany.
Ja, in Deutschland.
perfect nougat.
Wiener Schnitzel.
Oh man, there's not a lot of perfect nougat in this one. Oh man, Hare had a game that he liked to play. He would line all the kids up next to the bed, one by one, in the apartment with his wife lying on it, and he would force them to watch as he beat the shit out of her. Other nights he'd make the kids watch as he raped her, and if any of the kids looked away, that would, he would beat them as punishment for looking away. And this puke makes Danny Rolling's father seem like a saint.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up shit, man.
I mean, Danny Rolling's father was a piece of shit, big time, and this guy, I don't know. Okay, maybe a saint isn't the right word, but we'll just say tame. Makes him seem tame.
Right.
Peter was only 3 years old the first time that he had to watch his mother be brutally raped. And when he was done, he would just roll off of her and pass out. But the raping showed Peter how women were supposed to be treated in his mind, and he had no clue what a normal relationship was supposed to be. And this is a situation where you feel bad for the kid, but the adult can go fuck himself.
Right.
Hare ignored all the kids unless he was beating them, but they were all trapped. And with all those kids, Peter's mother was unable to leave, let alone get a job. Not to mention, divorce was taboo at that time. But still, I mean, even today, it's like, you go on Tinder, you look at this girl, so I've got 13 kids, 8 of them live with me. I'm swiping left.
It's a lot of mouths to feed.
Yeah. So, but Peter also had no kids his age to hang out with. So they lived in the inner city while most families at that time had lived out in the suburbs, which is kind of weird thinking about it, because we're talking about the 1800s. Transportation and everything wasn't like, look at London. London during that time, everybody was crammed into the city, much like it is now, like in New York or Los Angeles or any. They're crammed within city limits. But for them to for there to be like a city center and everything, but have everybody live out in the suburbs, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
For that time. I mean, am I way off, or what do you think?
Well, I think there was a lot of people that were like farmers, and Germany's got like villages and stuff like that. I don't know if I'd call it like a suburb. You know what I mean? It's more like little villages farms and stuff like that. Yeah.
So like Dusseldorf would be the main. It's like take Miami, for example. You have this Miami, and then you have like Pembroke Pines, and then you have like all these suburbs of Miami spread out. They're their own little towns. It was like that.
I suppose so. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I've been to California, but I can't. Yeah, I don't know it well enough to break it down like that. So I had to go with what I knew. Miami, or like Orlando, you've got Altamont Springs, you've got Maitland, you've got Fern Park, you've got
One of my best friends has been in Germany for a while now.
Yeah,
he likes it over there. Yeah, he learned to speak German and everything.
German. I mean, I would like to take a trip over to Europe. That's I've
been there a couple times.
Definitely on my bucket list. I mean, I mainly want to go see England, Scotland, and Ireland. That's my main bucket list destination outside the United States. But I also want to go see. I'd love to go to like one of those huge metal fests, like in Germany or whatever. I'd love to go to one.
We went to some music festival. I went to the Pink Festival in Amsterdam. That's a really big one. See who was playing Smashing Pumpkins and Alice in Chains, Rage Against the Machine. They all played at this festival. I was out there. Obviously, a long time ago.
I want to go see one of those festivals over there, like with Sabaton headlining or something like that.
Nice.
So, Peter wasn't, he faked his way through school and he just got by, and he didn't bother making friends in school because mainly because he wouldn't be able to hang out with anybody outside of school because they all lived in the little villages while he lived like in the city,
Mm-hmm.
So he made friends with an adult neighbor. So what kind of adult makes friends with a preteen that wasn't even 10 years old?
Well, let me guess. A dog catcher.
Yep, a dog catcher. But not
I'm
all.
sure he was a very nice guy. I'm sure, there was nothing wrong with him. That he was just a perfect example of humanity.
You just went to dog catcher. You didn't read any further.
He couldn't have taught him anything bad. It must have been all good things. I'm sure of it. It has a happy ending, right?
Initially, for the dog catcher. Oh God, that's horrible. Oh man, a pedo. So they'd hang out, and when they were alone, the man would just whip it out and jerk it, and he encouraged Peter to join in. And Peter knew what sex was thanks to his piece of shit father, and he did join in, although it never really became anything more than a mutual circle jerk.
I believe they were having sex with animals, both alive and dead, as well.
Hold on. Damn it. My notes just jumped. Okay. But yeah, you're jumping ahead a little bit, like my notes did.
Whoops, sorry.
You jumped ahead.
Alert.
You jumped ahead. My notes jumped backwards.
I had to get to my favorite part of the story. Fucking dead dogs.
But this man was a catcher. It's soon he realized Peter had more use than just a toy, so he began showing Peter the trade. Now, this guy had a slightly different outlook on how the trade should go of dog catching. While on the job, this man would catch stray dogs and torture them to death. But Peter, because of his upbringing, was an eager apprentice. And before too long, the man was showing Peter how to torture dogs, and Peter learned well. And later it led to them masturbating while killing these poor dogs. So, at 9 years old, Peter was already a monster. Between his father and his friend, they had created a killing machine, and Peter was ready to level up. Peter's class and school had just started some outdoor activities. They began making makeshift rafts to cruise down the Rhine, and what they were made was like 3-person rafts, and they were going to drift upriver, and they had a spot picked out where the teacher would be waiting. Peter and his raft mates lagged behind, and when they got to the stopping point, Peter was alone. The other 2 boys that he had been with were gone, and they were actually his friends, and Peter was in tears. Crocodile tears, but tears all the same.
What has happened to me, friends? Ah.
Perfect Nugan! I can't believe I didn't write Perfect Nugan into this. Our listeners know what I'm talking about. You might not. But it all starts on the Joseph Paul Franklin episode with the Perfect Nugan stuff. Also, 9 Mein Kampf Perfect Nugan! So, he said that one of the boys who couldn't swim had fell into the water and hit his head, and another one jumped in after him and also drowned. And they bought the story because nobody could imagine a 9-year-old killing 2 of his friends. But what had really happened was that Peter was rocking the boat, and one boy who couldn't swim was begging him to stop, and he began teasing him like, "Hey, what you don't like? You I can't do a German accent right now. Go ahead, Matt.
You don't like Rocky the boat?
I love it." No,
rocking these boats.
stop it, Perfect Dugan. Nine. So, he was teasing the boy about how you'll learn really quick if you just try it. Meaning,
I mean, a lot of children, especially in the old days, were taught to swim by just being chucked on in there. So maybe he was trying to perform a service.
Could have been.
Time to learn.
Could have been. So he then stood up and kicked the boy in the head, who then fell in the water, and Peter laughed about it. And I'm kind of picturing he did one of the Shawn Michaels kick. I don't if you watch wrestling or not. I haven't.
I am not a wrestling fan.
I used to be, but I couldn't. If I watched an episode now, I might recognize one wrestler, and that'd be the old bogey that comes out just for whatever, just for shit.
Hulkamania.
The other boy did dive into the water and did his best to rescue his friend who couldn't swim, and he took repeated accidental slaps and kicks from the boy who was thrashing around panicking, but he subdued him and started swimming back to the raft, dragging his now unconscious friend along with him. He lost his grip on the boy, who by now had drowned, and he got back to the raft and tried to pull himself up, but Peter pushed him back down. This went on for several minutes, and the boy gasped. He finally lost his strength and sank into the water, drowned, and was whisked away by the current. Nice guy, nice kid.
Oh yeah, so pleasant.
Yeah.
Would you like to take a raft ride with me?
It's funny because in part 2, he's kind of out on a date with this girl, and he walks by the river, and he's just like, yeah, when I was in school, we used to make rafts and cruise down the river. All that came out.
Those are the best days of my life.
Got my first real river raft. Oh man, but I'm powering through, people. I'm doing it.
He's a trooper.
I am. But nothing ever happened to Peter. Everybody believed his version, but Peter later claimed that he had his first orgasm when he was pushing the kid into the water. I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the stuff that's in this story comes from his confessions.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a lot like, well, once again, Pan's Ram, because once he started talking once he got into prison.
Reminds me of Chikatilo too. He would also often have spontaneous orgasms like that. Albert Fish as well. Albert Fish would have spontaneous. He said he orgasmed 5 times killing Grace Budd.
Showbiz.
That's how they do it in Hollywood.
Which is big deal. You got Shane Cook over here. Time Suck. Totally giving Time Suck a shout out. Had to. So if I didn't, people would have been like, "They're ripping off Time Suck." It's not ripping off if you credit your sources.
Imitation's the highest form of flattery.
Indeed. So, okay. So after his first 2 kills under his belt, he took a cooling off period, but he continued torturing and killing animals until, take a guess.
He found a human to do it to, I suppose.
No. His man friend was arrested for the animal killings.
Oh, what a shame. Talk about a victimless crime.
Yeah.
Were they selling the dog meat on the black?
No, they were just killing them.
They're just killing them.
Mm-hmm.
What a waste.
But Peter thought it wasn't fair. Animals get killed, but his father was out free, able to abuse them and rape his mother.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah. Peter got stronger as he got older, and Hare's abuse toward him stopped. His father probably knew that he wouldn't be able to overpower Peter anymore. So, at 13 years old, Peter got a girlfriend. She was into fooling around, but no actual sex. The physical excitement of that toned down Peter's urges for a while, and before too long, Peter needed sex. The blue balls were getting to him.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, but but the girl was persistent, and she ultimately broke up with him. Saving it for marriage. But
she was too good for him.
Yeah, definitely. I think really, well, there was only one woman that would be good for him, and he found that woman, and he wasn't good to her. But I will put a knife in that. So Peter went back to his old hobby of torturing animals, and that led to having sex with them, and he got bored with that, and he realized how fun it was to hurt the animals, because their attempts to escape made for more of an intense ride, so to speak. It's like that George Carlin joke. It's like, all the sheep humping farmers, why do they do so at the side of the cliff? It's so the sheep will push back.
Right. If you want to fuck a sheep, you got to get those rubber suit thing that you put on them. What do you call that? Like you would get it on a creek with the rubber.
I have no idea.
Oh, damn it! You're not falling for it. You're supposed to go. You're supposed to go waiters, and then I'm supposed to go. Oh, you fuck sheep before. That's cool. You know what I'm talking about. But that didn't work. Oh well, I'll try again later.
That's like that joke. Like, hey, if you and I went camping and you woke up and I was gone and your asshole was greased up and sore, would you tell anybody? No. Want to go camping?
Yeah.
But so this happened at a local ranch that he was working at, and he would break in at night for his sexy time, and he escalated even further by cutting the animals as he fucked them, and then later decapitating them as he orgasmed. And
the sight of blood was huge for him. He really got off on it.
Yeah. Once again, I think you're looking into my notes.
What is the paraphilia for blood flowing? Is there? I'm sure there's a name for that.
I don't know if there's a name for it. I'm sure there is, but I don't know it.
Be.
But Peter began to stop coming home at night, so Kurten then began raping his oldest daughter, who wasn't even 12 yet. And he would only do this while his wife was out. And one night he was raping his daughter, and his wife came home, and he was sloppy drunk, and his wife walked in on him. She finally went to the police station, and Hare, knowing that she had seen him, he got dressed and he followed her, and he caught her right as she got to the police station, and he started to try to beat her. But the officers, he must have been hammered if he's like running up to a police station trying to just beat the shit out of his wife.
Yeah.
I mean, it's damn. I mean, like, that's just stupid. But obviously the officers pounced on him and dragged him off. At that point, Peter's mother began telling the entire story about the abuse, and Hare was charged with incest, but not rape. But she was able to divorce him without the taboo because, he had fucked his own daughter.
That's definitely grounds for divorce right there.
Yeah, and I would...
Grounds for imprisonment.
Yeah, it is. Hashtag we'll get there. But her family stepped up to help her, with the kids and everything, and she had been prohibited from seeing them previously by Hare, so he was isolating her. So Hare probably would have, if Hare had started a cult, he would have gotten along with Rocktario really well, I think. I really do think that he probably would have turned out to be somebody like Rocktario, from the Anthill Kids.
An interest in surgery?
No, but it probably would have come to that. So,
Hair of the dog that bit you. Well, you can play rock, paper, scissors. Oh.
I can't believe you brought that up. It's in part 2. I'm not going to have
that's what everyone envisions when they hear the word Peter Kurten.
Maybe. Yeah, because of the scissors. But yeah, I'm not going to have it in me to do a second part tonight. We're going to have to do that some other time after, I know we're not doing it tomorrow because it's Thanksgiving. But
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're doing this the night before Thanksgiving Eve. And if I wasn't so sick, I'd be out. My daughter is with her mother, and I'd probably be out at a bar trying to,
Did you see the Eli Roth movie?
Which one?
Thanksgiving.
No, I haven't. But I guarantee you, if Eli Roth made it, I probably wouldn't want to do it.
Oh, you're not a fan?
No, his movies are okay and everything, but I guarantee you, I probably would not want to do what was being depicted in that movie.
Cooking people alive?
No, I'm not.
You're not a cannibal?
Not a cannibal.
Huh.
So,
what are we talking about?
Okay. So Peter then began sleeping at home once again, but while he was roughing it, he had been stealing to get by, and he actually got a job and started helping his mother with the bills, and all of a sudden they could afford things.
Imagine that.
Because the money wasn't going to, and he was obviously making less than his dad was.
But it wasn't going to the old
wasn't going to the bartender.
Right.
I'm having a rougher time with this fucking cold than I did with COVID, honestly.
Oh man, bummer.
So I'll get through this one. I definitely don't have a second one in me though. That's for damn sure. So still, Peter, ever the scumbag, picked up where his father left off and began raping his sister. One night, his mother came home from the store. She heard something coming from the bedroom. She walked in, saw the kids lined up, watching something, and on the bed, Peter was drilling his sister. It was that same scene all over again. In fact, she thought that somehow Hare had gotten out of prison and had come back. So, but when she realized that it was Peter, she screamed, and the kids scattered away, and his sister got away from Peter, and she also bolted. So she began beating Peter as much as she was able, which obviously wasn't much. Peter overpowered her, pinned her on the floor, and then pecked her on the lips, and then got up and left. And that was a power move, obviously, to establish dominance. But he made sure he stole every bit of cash from his family as he left. And his brother had run to the police station, same as his mother had done previously, but the police didn't get there soon enough, and Peter was gone. Like father, like son.
Yeah, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, does it?
Nine. So Peter had been working at the same molding plant that his father had worked at, and he was a model employee there, and because of that, he became a key holder. And he went in that night and stole a bunch of tools that he would use for breaking and entering. And Peter had watched the boss open the safe many times and memorized the combination. He opened it and took all the money that was inside, which was money for payroll. And it was obviously that Peter had done it, since he mysteriously didn't show up for work ever again the same day that the payroll was taken. So they reported the theft to the police, who were already looking for him for the rape of his sister. What a fucking asshole, man.
Yeah. And it only gets worse, folks.
Oh, yeah. It gets much worse. I mean, we're not going to get to the really bad shit until part 2.
We got something to look forward to.
Yeah. So Peter roughed it for several months, drifting further away from Cologne. He was frugal with the money that he had stolen, so if he needed something, he'd just steal it. His life was fairly mundane those first few months, laying low and surviving, and then he met a prostitute who was about 10 years older than him, and she had a reputation of taking the clients that the others didn't want. The men who liked it rough, because she liked it rough too.
It's just like a Mark Twain story. Is this what Huckleberry Finn was based on? You got rafting and...
Could be. Holy shit, it could be.
Oh.
Don't think he whitewashed the fence, though.
I think that's Tom Sawyer.
He became a regular client of hers and even treated her with respect. And she was a freak and he was a sadist, and it was a match made somewhere.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And she took all Peter could dish out, and she enjoyed it. I mean, hey, if you enjoy it, that's one thing.
If there's 2 consensual adults, you can do anything you want. Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, just don't kill anybody.
Yeah, that's not consensual.
No. Right. Well, even if it is, you still can't do it. That's kind of like
you should still not do it. I know, right?
Yeah. Like that Japanese cannibal guy.
Yeah.
But by this time, Peter had taken up drugs and liquor, and his job was breaking and entering. And he lived in the back of the brothel. He had a willing sex doll and enough money for food. But it wouldn't last long, because police noticed the rash of break-ins, and they got tips of who it was, so they raided the brothel. And Peter was hauled away naked because he was like in the act with his girlfriend. But, Peter's sick love interest had another client as soon as Peter was taken away. She's like, all right, next. She was all about the money. So Peter was sentenced to a month in prison. Since they had no way of knowing about his crimes in Cologne, raping his sister and all that shit. He was released in August of 1899, and then he relocated to Dusseldorf, which is a big city, and where he would be less conspicuous with his criminal activity. He started feeling freaky again, and he met an 18-year-old girl, and he convinced her to go to the Hofgarten, which is a public garden. It's not known if this girl was a prostitute or not. Peter led her off the main path, and where they went into some bushes and got busy, and Peter couldn't climax because it was just normal consensual sex. And she started commenting, and I was like, are you done yet? She's like looking at her watch. Like, damn.
Yeah. Come on, hurry up.
But that pissed Peter off. And the way it was written, I don't necessarily think that she was ragging on him as much as she was just asking a question.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a woman, if you're taking too long, a woman only asks that question because she's already gotten off at least once or twice. Like, really? Are you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but that's not how Peter took it. He started roughing her up, and that wasn't working either. So he started choking her. That wasn't working either. And then he strangled her to death and finally climaxed. And he loved that load. And he decided,
the ultimate thrill.
I lost my place. I've got Facebook up right next to me, and I just got a message on it, and it distracted me.
Get the hell off Facebook while we're doing the podcast, man. Come on.
All right, there. Got it. Facebook. Bye-bye. So, yeah, he strangled her to death and then finally climaxed, and he loved that load, and he decided that that's what he'd do more often.
Woohoo! Yippee!
Yay! All I got to do is kill him. Yay! I'm so cool. So, he was pumped, and he'd outdone his father. He actually killed somebody. Yay, Peter! Yay! Fuck off,
Wonderful.
Peter. Go fuck yourself, Peter. There was no going back now, and although there is no official record of this murder, he claims it. He lay low again while continuing to steal, and it would be a while before he killed again. But he got a little too big for his britches with the burglaries, and he bumped into somebody with more street smarts than he had, and he tried to get over on him. So he wound up being arrested for fraud. But once his picture appeared in the paper, more victims came forward reporting him for what he had done to them. One woman accused him of attempted rape. He had pulled a gun on her, and it was fired, but she wasn't shot, thankfully, and she was able to get away. He ultimately got 4 years hard labor. Dusseldorf prison was a rough place, and Peter quickly learned the rules, but he also learned how to game the system. Before a hard labor shift began, he'd break some small rule that got him thrown into solitary. So,
that's using your head?
Yeah, it is. So he did very little, if any, hard labor, and he just sat in solitary, fantasizing, coming up with new ways to be a total piece of shit.
Yeah. Probably reliving his crimes in his head. They like to do that.
And coming up with different ones to do and whatnot. So Germany was in bad shape after a recent war with France, and Peter was offered early release if he joined the German army, and in 1904, he was a member of the 98th Infantry Regiment of the German army, and he was rushed off for training. But he was not a good soldier, and he was routinely punished, and by the end of the summer, Peter had deserted, and he was living in the rough once again. So by the fall of 1904, not being able to find women in the country where he was laying low, he found a new hobby. Take a guess.
Yahtzee.
You got the number of syllables right. Arson.
Yay.
Gonna burn it down.
Let the bunker burn. A lot of guys like arson. The old Son of Sam. They say that he probably set tons of stuff on fire over there in New York.
Haven't covered Son of Sam yet. He's one of those ones that we'll get to later on down the road. You know, like we say Jeffrey Dahmer will be episode 500. And we're on, I guess, 86.
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
I like to try to find the little weird ones.
Yeah. I mean, one good resource there is Parcast show Serial Killers. They've got over 600, 700 episodes of nothing but serial killers. So it's just you find one that they do the bare minimum just effect stuff. So you do more research into somebody that you've never heard of. You do some research in it, and you've got an hour and a half long episode. And yeah, that's good. I haven't gone to that well very much, but I know that it's there in the future.
Yeah, I used to listen to that show a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of, I can't really listen to it anymore because it's just too just the facts for me.
Yeah.
But
I've noticed that they also get some facts wrong sometimes too.
They do.
They're a little rushed.
Well, I mean,
every week they're busting them out.
Last podcast on the left in their BTK episode, they got a lot wrong in that one.
Did they?
Yeah, and the reason I called them out on that is because I just when I first started getting into the possibility of doing a true crime podcast, like BTK was like one of those stories that captivated me most. So I looked into it and everything. We did that episode early on. It fucking sucked. And we're going to redo it at some point really soon. But, we're going to redo it, give it the proper treatment. But,
here, I'll do my serial killers. Bill's not a psychologist, but he has done a lot of research on this case.
Thanks, Matt. Beautiful. but yeah, they got a lot wrong in BTK, but that was a very early episode for them. So, I mean,
yeah, they've improved a lot. They changed.
Oh
a lot.
Yeah, they're a true crime comedy podcast. I would say they are the top dog. I would say.
Yeah, I love them. I love them to death. I had even dreamed about them.
What?
A little bit rude and crude for a lot of people. I noticed that they get a lot of hate. They get a lot of hate on that Facebook group.
Well, they got
because they're all constantly laughing and they're constantly joking, but that's just the way they are. If you don't like them, don't listen to them.
Right, but they're the top dog out there, so they're obviously doing something right.
Definitely.
So
they're New York Times best-selling authors.
No shit. I mean, anyway, maybe they'll hear this and give us a free plug on their show.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. So, but anyway, arson. He discovered that setting fires excited him sexually as well. He could only climax in front of a fire if he was fantasizing. He imagined there were burning people alive in the buildings.
That's hot. Literally, it's hot because they're on fire.
Yeah. But although sometimes there would be homeless people sleeping in them, and he did burn some people alive. There's no number on how many, but remains were found at some of the sites. Real class act, this guy.
Yeah, he's not the sweetest character out there.
I didn't know much about him. I mean, I'd heard a couple podcast episodes about him and everything, but I didn't really. It's not one that kind of stuck with me. He's one of the worst. He is one of the worst.
He's the vampire of Dusseldorf.
Yeah.
But my father was a huge Fritz Lang fan, and he loved the movie M. He also really liked Peter Lorre, and so the M is based on him. And so my dad used to talk about him to me, and I actually have read a book or two about him, but it's been a long, long, long time. So that's how I was introduced to this guy as a little kid.
Oh wow!
M is a fantastic film. Love it. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. Is it on Amazon or something?
I'm sure it's like 1930s German expressionism. Fritz Lang.
So if it's not on Amazon, it might be on like Tubi or something like that.
It's probably around. Peter Lorre. I can't do it. How does Peter Lorre talk?
I don't know. My fat chance I'll be able to do a accent tonight with this freaking cold. Other than if I go, Mein Kampf perfect, you can nine. But. On New Year's Eve, 1905, the military caught up with him. He was charged with desertion. He was sentenced 8 years at the prison in Munster. He tried his Defiance Act again, but it didn't work. And he would receive beatings in addition to solitary. So he spent 90% of the sentence bleeding in solitary. And not exactly the imagination land that he had previously been in. But now he was angry and he wanted to kill on a massive scale. And if he had just not deserted and waited a few more years for Archduke Franz Ferdinand to be assassinated, he would have been able to kill as many people as he wanted.
The shot heard around the world.
Yep. The wrong turn. But he ultimately was released and he decided to return to Dusseldorf, where he immediately resumed breaking into houses. He would also rob stores and whatever else caught his eye. He wanted to exact revenge on how bad he had been treated. And he and Karl Panzram would have made quite the deadly dynamic duo. Like,
Karl Panzram would have been raping the fuck out of that guy.
I'm getting there. Panzram gets the men and the boys. Kurten gets the women and the girls. Although Panzram would have probably just raped and killed him without finding out about their mutual common interests.
Right.
Yeah, Panzram. Panzram didn't like anybody.
No. Fritz Hamann was at work at the same time there in Germany.
Huh?
Fritz Hamann, the werewolf of
yeah,
the Wolfman of Hanover.
Yeah,
Wolfman of Hanover.
But Panzram was young at this point. He was alive at this point, and
right.
I can't remember exactly when Panzram was born, but I think he was born in the 1800s. So they're probably pretty close to the same age. On May 25th, 1913, Peter Kurten came across a little girl 9-year-old girl named Christine Klein, who was asleep in the room of a house that he was breaking into. He literally choked her to death through the window. And he then pulled out a pocket knife and cut her throat. And when he hit the carotid artery, the blood started spurting, and he ejaculated right then. He climbed in to admire his handiwork, and he molested her corpse. He didn't even rob the place. He was on a sexual high. Yeah, and he hadn't made it back to Dusseldorf just yet. But the next day he returned to the scene of the crime just to watch and listen to all the chaos that he caused. And he got off on that as well. Oh, God.
Little Richard Ramirez vibe, because he used to break into houses as a means of survival. He was a thief, but eventually it caused such sexual arousal that he ended up only breaking and entering for rape and murder, when originally it had been for monetary reasons. There could have
in part two, we're going to get to there could have been. There was an opportunity for there to be a Richard Ramirez type, lynching of Peter Kurten, and I wish it had happened. It could have happened, but you're gonna have to wait till the next episode to hear that, because I definitely don't have 2 episodes in me.
Hear all the fun ahead, folks.
So, Peter Kurten had a second victim in this murder, other than Stephanie's parents. Her father, Peter Klein, had a violent argument with his brother Otto, who, he was a piece of shit, tried to mooch him. What's that?
Death.
Oh. But he was trying to, he was just a classic mooch, and Otto told Peter that if he didn't give him the money, something horrible would happen to him and haunt him for the rest of his life. Peter told Otto to fuck off, but that was earlier the day prior, and Christine was brutally murdered the next night. So with Otto the prime suspect, police searched the scene for any bit of evidence to charge Otto with this. What they did find was a handkerchief that had been used to wipe the blood off of the knife, and on the hanky there were stitched initials P.K. Kurten overheard this and he freaked, not realizing that Christine's father had the exact same initials. But that was Peter Kurten's hanky, not Peter Klein's.
Yeah, that was a lucky break there.
Yeah. So
tragic.
I threw you a swerve there because Otto was arrested, not Peter Klein. Otto was acquitted, but he was a pariah for 15 years. and the family and community assumed that he was guilty, and they wanted him to go to the guillotine. Why? What I don't get is why Peter Klein didn't say, "That's not my hanky."
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big of a piece of shit Otto is. Does he deserve to go down for a murder that he didn't commit? That wasn't Peter Klein's handkerchief. He didn't have a handkerchief like that. That would have ended everything for as far as like Otto being.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Peter Kurten even attended Christine's funeral, and he was loving all the chaos that he created, and he would later return to jerk off at the gravesite.
Oh.
What a piece of shit. But he finally made it back to Dusseldorf, and it was on! He somehow got his hands on a skeleton key, which would make his robberies much easier to pull off. He hit the wealthy neighborhoods, acquiring a lot of booty, and quietly and effortlessly. And Carl Panzram would have loved to have had one of those doohickeys.
Mm-hmm.
He also started back again with the arson, and it seems like at this stage he has to work himself up to commit another murder. But he got there soon enough, and he used his key to rob a house, and he found 17-year-old Gertrude Franklin asleep, and her parents weren't home. He had climbed on top of her, and she woke up, and she struggled, but that just excited Peter even more. So he started choking her, and she bit her tongue, and like a shark, just a drop of blood sent him into a frenzy. He raped her, brutalized her, and when he finished, he bolted, but Gertrude survived. She was unconscious when he left. But she regained consciousness, staggered out on the street, and the neighbors rushed over to, give her assistance. And they called the police, and they watched over her until her parents got home shortly later. The police investigation showed no evidence of a break-in or even lockpicking, so they determined that somebody had a skeleton key. And skeleton key, is skeleton keys back then open up every single lock?
I don't think they open up every lock, but I'm not exactly sure how that was working there, but I don't think locks were as sophisticated. Well, I don't know. I mean, he when he was living on the when he had run away and he was doing that life of crime and living with that prostitute, he frequented with a lot of criminals, and he would have been taught in the lock picking and the use of a key like that. He would have known what he was doing.
Yeah, but one thing is missing here is how he got his hands on that thing in the first place.
I mean, like I said, yeah, he's part of the criminal underworld.
Yeah, but still, how did he get it? I mean, if you have number one, very few people
stole it.
Well, yeah, but very few people have them. So how would he know A, who had them, and B, where they kept it?
Locksmith. Probably broke into a locksmith place, maybe. Who knows? Or he could have bought it in the black market.
On the internet.
Amazon.
Skeleton key. Send a telegram.
Never trust a locksmith.
Yeah, that's probably what happened. He probably robbed a locksmith. And honestly, I can't believe there's one. This isn't the Ring of Power like in Lord of the Rings. One ring. This is one key to open them all. There had to have been like multiple skeleton keys. Well,
right.
Because you've got different brands. Or maybe
he
you
probably
don't.
had like a whole bunch of keys and knew all the different lock types.
A skeleton key ring.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't say. It just said that he got his hands on a skeleton key. But man. So news went out saying that the suspect probably had a skeleton key. So Peter Kurten just pulled a Richard Ramirez and threw his key into the Rhine River. Well, Richard Ramirez pulled
His
a Peter
shoes.
Kurten and threw his shoes into the river.
Yeah. After what's her name in San Francisco, Diane Feinstein went and told the whole goddamn world what his shoes were like.
Yeah. All right, we're looking for this man. He's wearing these types of shoes, and this is what he looks like, and this is what he does. And I'm just give me about 10 minutes here. I'm going to give you every bit of information that the police have.
Yeah, Avia shoes. You can still get those today. I was thinking about even buying a pair just for shits and giggles.
Well, Kool-Aid didn't go out of business thanks to Jim Jones.
Yeah, but that was actually Flavor Aid.
I know it was Flavor Aid, but Kool-Aid, but the uninformed call it Flavor. Call it Kool-Aid.
It just sounds cooler. Yeah, don't drink the Kool-Aid. You know why there's not a lot of jokes about Jim Jones? Punchline's too long.
I knew there was something coming, and if I didn't have this horrible cold, I probably would have gotten it. I'm a little off tonight. I'm like the backup quarterback at the moment, even though I'm the same quarterback. I don't know.
That Dayquil's going to your head, buddy.
And the Bud Light. And I don't know. I think I'm doing an okay job. What do you think?
Yeah,
I sound horrible, but whatever. I did an episode with COVID.
Right.
Oh shit. Oh man. So news went out saying that the suspect probably had a skeleton key. Peter threw his key into the Rhine River, and I already said that. So Peter went home only to find the police waiting for him there. Peter Kurten attempted to talk his way out of it with doublespeak and misdirection, but the police didn't buy it, and he was arrested. And he spent hours in the holding cell trying to figure out why he was arrested. They didn't tell him why he was arrested. And he couldn't come up with anything because as far as he knew, they didn't know anything about anything. So finally, officers showed up and began questioning him with their fists. And they started rattling off evidence and all the burglaries that had been happening, as well as fires that he had started. And this was meant to soften him up for interrogation. And they were just having fun. But still, even without the murder, all the arson and the burglaries and stuff is still a high-profile criminal.
Yeah, he's a busy boy.
Mm-hmm. They don't know about
terrifying.
They don't know about all the other shit.
Right.
So he wound up being sent to the military prison in Brieg, and Peter did what he did, trying to work the system, and he wound up serving 8 years. It was originally 6, but he managed to have a total of 2 years added here and there, week here, week there, month here, month there, for being a douchebag.
Was that in the official records?
Douchebag. I hope so. I mean, I took some creative liberties on that one, but basically what they said is, yeah, he was a douchebag. So he was released in April 1921, and he had to choose now what he was going to do: go legit, because he was now 38 years old, matured, or go back to his antics in the past. And he's realizing that if he had been caught for any of the murders that he had done, he would get the death sentence for it.
The guillotine.
The guillotine. So he chose to go legit, or at least try to. So he tracked down his sister. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure she was happy about that.
Yeah. Oh, she was thrilled. She was surprised. the one that he had raped. She had made a good life for herself in Altenburg, and she had gotten married, had a couple of kids, and she had left her God damn it. You're allowed to laugh at me when I do shit. That shit.
No.
I'm just saying. But where was I? Yeah, she had left her horrific past behind, and she was happy until Peter showed up. And her husband was all for opening the door to her. It's your brother. Come on, welcome in. Apparently, she hadn't told him.
Blood is thicker than water.
Well,
but
she
unfortunately,
hadn't told him.
Blood excites this man.
Well, but she hadn't told him. She hadn't told him
what had happened.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I don't know. I mean, in the Angel's Landing episode and everything, when that survivor got the hell away and she found a guy that was awesome to her and everything. She it took her a little while to be able to really tell him anything. But then finally she did break down and tell him everything. And that guy became her number one, he had her back.
Advocate.
So, yeah. And so, I don't know, but it was a much different time, so maybe at that time, so like, oh, you've been raped, so you're damaged goods or something like that.
Right. There's a lot of shame involved. It's sad. It's terrible.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, it's just, if I meet a woman and she's, had a history or whatever, I mean, hell, I'm a fucking cult survivor. I'm not going to judge anybody,
Yeah.
She hadn't told her husband anything about what had happened with her. She might have said something about what happened with her dad. I don't know, but her dad was in prison and that was public record, but she probably didn't say anything about Peter. I bet at this point in the story, she wishes she had. Because, she was terrified, but she hid it very well. Peter said that he wanted to work and settle down. He needed a place to stay until he got back on his feet. And he promised to help in exchange for the roof over his head and for food. And Peter, now keep in mind, he hasn't talked to his sister since the day that he raped her and took off. So she doesn't know anything. She doesn't know that he had been a soldier or anything like that. She knows nothing. So Peter mentioned that he had been a soldier and he had been locked away. And the way he spun it using like double speak and everything was that like he made them believe that he had been taken prisoner without saying it.
Mm-hmm.
But he had been taken prison. That was true from a certain point of view.
Right.
But it worked, and his brother-in-law opened the doors for Peter as long as he needed to get back on his feet. And he had no idea of Peter's knowledge of his wife.
Mm-hmm. Interesting term.
Yeah, and
it's heavy duty, man. It doesn't get much heavier.
No, I feel bad for for Peter's sister, and I feel bad for his brother-in-law as well. I mean, right. Brother-in-law thinks he's just trying to do the right thing by the family and everything. Sister doesn't know, she's too scared to tell him anything and all that stuff. It just sucks both, for both of them. It sucks. So yeah, that's a rough situation.
Yeah. To say the least.
But Peter found a job. He was being friendly. Maybe he had changed. He did his job. He did well, and he began climbing the union ladder. And he was hanging out at his sister's candy shop one day when a woman named Auguste Sharaf, S-C-H-A-R-A-F, Sharaf? Sharaf.
Sharif.
S-C-H-A-R-A-F. That doesn't sound German.
Sharif.
Sharif Davida.
Sharif don't like it.
Rock the Casbah. Sharif. We'll just go with Sharif. And Peter was interested in this woman, and he began talking to her, and his sister had no reason at this point to cock block him. Because,
well, there was all that raping and stuff.
Well, yeah, but months had gone by and nothing had happened. Peter was actually like a delight to be around. He was doing
pushing
good.
It there.
Well,
he's being he was on his best behavior.
Different time. Mm-hmm. So Peter seemed to have turned over a new leaf. And now for the most obvious put a knife in it that we've ever had on this podcast. It turned out that Auguste had been in jail, and she had been a prostitute in her past. She had been married to an abusive man, and she had killed him. And Peter had no problem with her past. In fact, he liked it. He could relate to her. And they even waited until they were married before they started having sex.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
Yeah. And then after a couple of years, they moved to Dusseldorf, where they were able to establish themselves very quickly. But as usual, Peter got bored with the norm and began having affairs, having multiple affairs. And that's where we're going to wrap up part 1. So,
all right. Be sure to tune in next week, folks. It's going to get wild.
Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. We appreciate the hell out of it. Thank you, Matt, for filling in for Todd while he was taking some time off. Appreciate the hell out of it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And you'll be back on for part 2, right?
Hell yeah, I will.
Yeah, we can't exactly, have somebody else come in on part 2. It's got to be you.
It's got to be me, and I will be here.
And hopefully I won't sound like I have a frog in my throat for part 2. But anyway, check us out on socials. Check out Murder Coaster, CKCB. Okay, I get tongue tied on my own website. CKCBpodcast.com. It's got everything there. If you would hook us up and hook Murder Coaster up with 5-star reviews and comments and everything, and definitely check Murder Coaster out too, because that's one of my go-to podcasts that I listen to now. So,
thank you so much.
Love it.
Appreciate it.
So, anyway, until next week, later.
Auf Wiedersehen.